Thanks for staying with us. Nigeria's oil production has increased to over 1.4 million barrels per day, but local refineries are still struggling due to a lack of crude oil supply. Crude oil producers continue to prioritize export over supplying domestic refineries, leaving them underutilized. The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, has imposed a ban on the export of crude meant for local refineries to address this issue. However, industry players claim that many refineries remain marginalized in the supply chain, leading to lower production capacity. Refinery owners have called for government support, particularly for modular refineries, to help boost local refining capacity and reduce reliance on imported fuel. The NUPRC's efforts are seen as a step forward, but industry experts stress the need for more sustainable solutions. Our guest this morning is Mr. Olabode Sowunmi, CEO, CABTREE. Good morning and welcome to the program, sir.
Good morning and thanks for having me.
Okay, so now the local refineries that we were hoping will make us see some kind of relief are complaining that they are not having enough crude to refine. And the oil companies are prioritizing, as the report says, export instead of giving to the local refineries. I'd like your comment on that.
Okay, I think it's about the reportage of that. And there's nothing totally new there. I think the issue is about how it's being reported to make it seem like there is bias. So for perspective, Nigeria produces about 1.5 to 1.8 million barrels, let's just say 1.8 million barrels per day. Out of that 1.8 million barrels, the one that belongs to Nigeria out of it is roughly about 55 to 60% maximum, depending on the joint venture contract or if it's a production sharing contract. So if we have about, let's say for purpose of argument, 60% of that, that gives up about roughly 900,000 barrels per day. Out of that 900,000 barrels per day, a significant amount has gone into servicing of the loan debts that Nigeria has. So if you say 40% of that goes into that, you are now left with, say, about 500,000 barrels per day. Out of that 500,000 barrels per day, the nation is going to pay salaries. They are going to buy medicine that people will use. You know, generally, the expenses of government. There is what the people in the refineries want, at least starting with Dangote, is roughly about 600,000 barrels per day. It is not possible for him to get it. So which now leaves you with the other 40% that goes to the international oil companies. Now, those oil companies have been in business decades before the Dangote refinery ever came up, and they have contracts to which they sell those products. So it's not like tomatoes, which you just harvest and then you go to the market and sell it to whosoever. No, these people have contracts that are like 30-year-old, 20-year-old contracts, which they must meet by selling those products to those people. I think that's where the issue is. So it's societal pressure, social media, ignorance is not going to force them to cancel contracts. That's just what they want. So it's, if they want crude oil, there are those who are in the spot market who they can buy for. I mean, it's an international product, and it's roughly the same price virtually everywhere.
Okay, the issue here is not whether we understand or not, but when the regulatory body or NUPRC or something said that they were stepping into this matter, it wasn't as if they were asking them to, or these oil companies to jettison whatever agreement they have had with other companies, oil companies that they sell this crude to. The bone of contention was that the oil that was meant, that was the report, that was meant for domestic consumption, for whatever the domestic consumption is going to be like, whether they are paying debts or anything, was now being exported. And now the quarrel was that, or the ban or everything that was, the penalty was that they are going to face the consequences if they keep selling this crude that was meant for Nigeria or domestic consumption to other countries. And the response of these companies was that, okay, these refineries are not meeting their obligations, which means, if I understood that well, which means oil that was originally meant for Nigeria, of the 60% that was meant for Nigeria, these people are still taking out of it and selling. That's the quarrel. So if it is 60% that should come to Nigeria, or even if it's 50% that is coming to Nigeria, and the 50% is not coming to Nigeria because they want to make the hard currency and they're selling it out, then that is a problem to some of us.
So I sincerely doubt that that can happen. So because you need to know how that place is structured. When the crude oil is pumped at the oil well, you have people from NNPC.
Yeah.
There you have people from the regulator there and all that. So everybody gets their due. When they are talking about the crude that is meant for Nigeria, that is out of that 60% that I explained, has nothing to do with the 40% that goes to the international oil companies. Mm-hmm. That's their own payment for their investment and the work that they've done and all that. So the like I said, the reportage is being reported in a way that is mixing up issues.
Who is doing the wrong reportage? Who is doing the wrong one? Is it the oil companies? Is it the regulatory companies? Is it the press that is doing the wrong reporting that you're talking about? Because if they say,
first of all,
the
oil companies, I doubt that they are in a position to report anything. In fact, they hardly talk. So the talk in all of these things is coming from third parties. Not even, you hardly see anything from NNPC, and I doubt if there's anything from Dangote except when they complained. So it is people outside of those people that are forming the substance, or what we think is the substance of the stories, which does not take into cognizance an understanding of how the operations take place. So for emphasis again, let me repeat the whole thing. Nigeria has its own percentage because there is a joint venture. That joint venture stipulates that a percentage of whatever income comes to Nigeria, and a percentage of that income goes to the joint venture partners. Now, Nigeria is free to do whatever it wants with its own crude obligation, just like the oil companies are free to do what they want with their own crude oil obligation. Where this reportage is coming from is saying that the way the oil companies are using their own obligations is such that it is taking unfair advantage of Nigeria. And what I'm trying to say is that that sentence and that narrative in itself is steeped in a bit of ignorance, because somebody's income cannot be an entitlement of another person. So it's their income.
Ignorance on whose part? I'm just trying to understand now. Ignorance on whose part? Because NUPRC, are they part of the people you're calling third party? Because they're the ones who are threatening fire and brimstone on the companies that are not giving the quota that should be for domestic consumption. Not the press, not any other person that we can mention. It's NUPRC that is supposed to be on the know of how these things work. So where is the false narration coming from? Are they the ones that are ignorant? Because they are the ones who are threatening consequences. So would like to know who the ignorant party is that is not giving us enough information. Because in this oil sector, we have seen and heard a lot of things that we do not understand. They are abracadabra in the health sector. Even when the Dangote refinery was coming on stream, we didn't even know what the price was. We didn't know who was buying from what. We didn't know anything about it. Things are beginning to get clearer and clearer now. But if we say there's an ignorant party that is giving us the information that is not true, who is this ignorant party? Is it the NUPR because they are threatening that they are going to impose sanctions on these oil companies? Is it that they don't know how it operates? Mr. Sowunmi, can you hear me? We seem to have lost the audio and video of Mr. Sowunmi. We hope that he will be back. Mr. Sowunmi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
We couldn't hear you at some point. Did you hear what I was trying to ask you? Mr. Sowunmi? Okay. Tariffs have gone up, but network is still not behaving well. We do hope that what the National Assembly is clamoring for, that we have better services, will be adhered to, and all these service providers do well. Because sometimes you pay so much, you are not even able to use the data or whatever it is that you are spending money on. So, Mr. Sowunmi, are you back with us? Well, we are talking about the fact that some oil companies, or there's been an accusation that some oil companies prioritize exporting oil and using the quota that is supposed to be for domestic consumption, where it should go to the refineries in the local scene. And they're prioritizing export because they are going to maybe make more money and all that. And the NUPRC is saying that there are going to be sanctions on all these oil companies that are doing this. And we are trying to make sense out of it. Mr. Olabode Sowunmi, who is our guest this morning, is telling us how it works and how that information may not be true. We're trying also to establish where the misinformation is coming from. Is it randomly coming from the press, or it's coming from NUPR? Okay, you're back with us now. We couldn't get your audio at some point. So I'm just trying to establish where the ignorance is coming from, because you keep saying that it doesn't work the way it works. So when we get all this kind of information and the NUPRC is threatening fire and brimstone, is it that they are the ones who do not understand what the problem is and how the working of the oil companies and the quotas sharing and all that is? Is it where this misinformation is emanating?
Okay, so first of all, I think I saw the NUPRC statement. What they said is that if anybody is found wanting, that they will sanction the person. They did not say anybody is found wanting. So it is important to get the substance of what is presented, and on the basis of the substance, query it. They are the regulator. It's basically like if you go before a court or the police and report that somebody has come to invade my home, to steal my property and all that. The first thing the police will say is that, okay, we're going to investigate, and if everybody is found to have been culpable, that the person will face the wrath of the law. That is different from saying that people are actually stealing or people are actually found wanting in that process. So the first thing that I think that should be done is that the very statement, the original statement that stated that there is an obligation, there is a crude oil obligation to Nigeria that is being diverted to the diverted by the IOCs. That very statement is what should be queried, so that you will be able to be sure of what the substance of the allegations are in the process. So it is based on that you can now get a feedback from the IOCs that, okay, so and so makes this allegation against you. What is your own feedback? And if they refuse to comment, that in itself is also a feedback. And it is based on that you can now engage others. Because right now, there's a lot of he said, she said, this said, without
okay, Mr. Sowunmi, this, I'm just trying to understand. Sorry that I'm still hammering on this. Nigeria's oil production has increased. Even though this report is talking about 1.4 million barrels per day, you said it was about 1.8 barrels. And there's a projection that it may get to 3 million barrels per day, but that is a fact. That is going to be something in our dreams that we're hoping that will come to fruition. But the statement here on this report is that the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, has imposed a ban on the export of crude meant for local refineries to address the issue that the local refineries are not having enough crude. They have imposed a ban, which means this thing was happening. They have now banned it. That's how I understood the statement. That's why I'm confused when you're saying that they are investigating. they said they imposed a ban on the crude that was meant for local consumption, which means this crude was going out. They have now banned it, and anybody who crosses that line anymore will be arrested. That's my confusion. So you can't ban something that has not been moved. Yes.
Where that statement came from. I'm not aware of that statement. Is that statement public? Is it on their website? Was there a press release to that effect? So if you can explain to me where NUPRC said they put a ban on local refineries, that can be a good way to start. I'm not aware of anything like that.
So it may not have emanated from the NUPRC. That's the thing.
No, you said that authoritatively.
This is the report. This is the report I'm reading to you. So I'm trying to find out, like you said, let us interrogate this report and find out whether it emanated from NUPRC or it did not. You said it is not from NUPRC. That means we need to do an investigation again.
Hold on, sir. You made a statement and you said it is from your report. And I said that statement is not on the website of NUPRC. No, I'm not aware of a press release to that statement. So it is incumbent upon you to verify where that report came from. You are the one that made the allegation. So it is incumbent upon you to prove it that this is an NUPRC statement. So because that is the basis for this.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what is that, as far as I know, I'm not aware of NUPRC saying such a thing. So if you now prove that, then I can now explain the basis of what I report. If they were to say such a thing, which I doubt, it is now left for them to explain why they are saying so, because that will be going beyond the powers of regulation.
Okay.
But
now,
like
sometimes when news flies, whatever the source is, we also take that opportunity to find out from industry experts how authentic or not that is. So if this news is flying around and you as an authority are saying that it did not emanate from NUPRC, that means, like you said, it's incumbent on us to find out where this emanated from. But be that as it may, the problem still persists. The problem still persists. The problem still persists that local refineries are not getting enough oil, even when the production capacity has increased. How can we fix this?
Okay, so first of all, there's a difference between news and news. Simply because information is flying around does not make it news. It is facts that makes it news. So that's to correct that in the first place. In the second place, when there's an increase in production capacity, there is an established process for which those things are going to be used, and that is not going to be done in the media. So just like they have meetings between the refiners and the regulators, and in those meetings they are able to talk about the key issues of the industry. That is the first place that the refiners who feel shortchanged or who feel that they are obligated to a significantly more amount of crude oil, that's where they should engage. Because we are not going to run government on media. It is just not possible. So you have said that the production capacity has increased. That is good news. I wasn't aware of that. And in there, at some point, there will be increment. So the key thing is that there is a process within the industry for engagement amongst those who feel that they have certain obligations to engage that process. It is when they have not met those obligations, I mean, what options to be looked into. But the process of governance within the industry is not going to be done on the pages of the media. It's not possible.
Okay, well, like I said, we need a solution to this, because refineries, if our refineries work well and they get the needed supply, we're hoping as Nigerians that our lives will be better. That's the whole thing, no matter what kind of grammar we are talking about, where our lives hinge largely on this oil in Nigeria. And if we're having short supply...
Local refinery production is not going to reduce price. You know, these two will be saying that before the Dangote refinery came in, and it's still the same. The factors that reduce price is not local refinery production. And I think it's also important that Nigeria get that so that there is no wrong expectation. Because one of the things that did happen was that when the Dangote refinery came in, people were expecting a astronomical drop in prices, and then we had to start making all these explanations again. You understand? Supply of crude oil does not even automatically, even in Naira, does not even automatically mean that there will be a reduction in prices. Because that is now a responsibility of economic considerations of the refinery as an independent entity. So let's tame the expectations so that Nigerians don't get the wrong impression and have the wrong expectations. That is also important in terms of having a quality life.
Oh, well, we've run out of time. There are so many things that that statement has brought out, but we thank you for helping us make sense of some of the things that we had as gray areas, and also making us to sit up more to look at the authenticity of things that we hear and things that we say. We'd like to thank you, Mr. Sowunmi, for coming on the show this morning, and we wish you a very pleasant day.
Thanks very much. Always a pleasure to be here.
We're talking to Mr. Sowunmi this morning, and we were talking about the fact that some refiners are complaining that they are not getting enough crude, and the regulatory body is threatening consequences on any oil company that fails to give what is supposed to be for Nigerian consumption to another country because they are prioritizing exports. So he has been able to tell us that, according to him, that that statement categorically did not emanate from the NUPRC. So we'll find out who is peddling the rumors, who, to what end, what is the gain of this person and all that. So we'll still do more findings. This is a developing story. Nigerians want to have a lease of life, and we're hoping that any avenue that will give us that, we can exploit it as much as possible. This is where we wrap it up on the show this morning. We'd like to say thank you to you for being a part of this show, and we're hoping that you're going to rejoin us tomorrow for another edition. My name is Nyamgul Agaji. Bye for now.